Hi guys, it's me Chazza HD and welcome to the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. Of course, practice one starting very soon. Hopefully you guys are doing well and hopefully you're as excited as me for this weekend's return to Montreal. Of course, this circuit, a famous racetrack, so many great moments have happened here in the past, and I have no doubt that this weekend will be another great weekend in Canada, a very exciting one. And with the new FIA technical directive on porpoising, we could see definitely a different order than we saw in Baku, and quite a different one than we expected coming into Canada had that technical directive not been announced, what was it, yesterday by the governing body. So practice one is, and also practice two later on, is going to be very interesting to see, how, what do you call it, just how the teams get on and whether certain teams are really bouncing too much and whether, that could have a bad effect on them going into the rest of the weekend. Going to be very interesting to see how that all shakes out. And yeah, practice one starts in 13 minutes time, and I'll give a bit of a build up for you guys in the next 13 minutes or so. Hopefully you guys, by the way, are doing well no matter what time it is in your part of the world. Hopefully having as best today as possible, and hopefully with me today, not just for this stream, but for the Practice 2 Watchalong later. The Practice 2 Watchalong, by the way, is in about 3 hours from now. Hopefully today you'll be watching along practice with me. If not, and you can only listen along, then don't worry, I'll keep you up to date as to everything that happens in this session and the Practice 2 session later today. But I'll just move on to some pictures to get things rolling. These pictures, by the way, obviously we haven't had any cars on track yet so far this weekend. So these pictures are from yesterday. Obviously the drivers arriving at the circuit and doing a track walk and just, coming back to the track. I should, like last weekend for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I should, for practice 2, have pictures of the cars for the stream. So yeah, I'll make sure to get that sorted for practice 2. But yeah, these are the pictures that'll be guiding you through practice 1. By the way, apologies if you hear background noise, it's my chair, which is quite noisy these days. It's pretty broken as well, so I think I need to probably replace it maybe during the summer break or something, because it is getting a bit noisy for the background noise. And the arm is the armrest is fucked. The back of it's pretty broken as well. So, yeah, should probably get a new chair soon enough. But before we get into practice 1, let me just quickly talk about what we talked about last night in the Canadian Grand Prix preview stream. And by the way, if you haven't seen the Canadian Grand Prix preview stream, then make sure to go and watch it back when you can. The link below is in the description. But yeah, the main breaking news that came from Thursday was that the FIA set a barometer, I guess, or a limit for how much porpoising can take place with the cars we have, and they're going to come up with an exact metric at some point. I don't think they've come to it yet because they want to try and find what the exact metric is for deciding which cars are, hitting the ground too hard. But essentially what they're going to do is set, probably for this weekend, about a limit in a roundabout way instead of an exact way, what the teams, how low they can get to the ground with their certain cars if they are bouncing too hard. And essentially, with the teams, if they cannot put a setup on the car that limits the bouncing to the FIA's liking, or enough to the FIA's liking, then the FIA are going to mandate that the team in question, whatever team that is, raises the car by 10 millimeters. And we know with these cars, the closer you run your car to the ground, the more downforce you're going to get and the more pace out of the car you're going to get. So it will absolutely affect certain teams, for the rest of this season. Because it will, we are going to get teams falling foul of this. There is no doubt about that, now that that technical directive has been announced. So, it's going to be interesting, like I said, to see in practice whether there are certain teams that are bouncing very aggressively. Obviously, the Montreal track is a bumpy circuit, not as bumpy as Baku, but because of how old it is still a pretty bumpy track. And also the track surface is not the smoothest in the world, again, because of how old it is. We've been racing here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve since, 1976 or 77, I think. So, yeah, it's a very old racetrack compared to a lot of the tracks we go to now on the calendar. And, yeah, if a team like Mercedes or Ferrari that we saw in Baku, they were suffering porpoising or bottoming out quite badly in last weekend's Grand Prix in Baku. If that happens again in practice today, then without doubt, there is going to be some scrutineering going on by the FIA to see whether it is excessive or a bit too excessive for what they, want from a safety point of view. And to be honest, the conclusion they've come to with this technical directive, I believe, is the best solution. Because at the end of the day, teams like Red Bull that, have not completely sorted it, and it's not like Red Bull don't have any porpoising whatsoever, but they should not be punished for designing their car in a way that limits it a lot more compared to other teams. So I'm happy that that is not going to affect, the teams that have it better when it comes to bouncing up and down in the fast corners and on the straights. And yeah, it will change around the order a bit if certain teams fall foul of it, and if certain teams have to run their cars higher because they know they'll fall foul of the FIA scrutineering. But at the end of the day, the teams that have this issue should not be rewarded in any way, shape or form by being helped with it. At the end of the day, it's their own fault and they need to make a better car. So that's what they need to do. But yeah, in terms of the effect it'll have on the running order or the pecking order this weekend, I don't know. I really don't know. We'll have to see what happens in practice 1 and practice 2 to see, firstly, what the pecking order is looking like, and then after scrutineering and setup and, possible ride height raising goes on before practice 3, then we'll have to see whether a team has massively dropped off due to having to raise their ride height and see, how it affects things. But yeah, we'll see, obviously, in practice today, firstly, what the pecking order is and whether certain teams look as though they could fall foul of excessive bottoming out or bouncing or porpoising, whatever you want to call it, down the straights and in the fast corners. And talking of the pecking order, I'll quickly get into it as we are only about 5-6 minutes away from practice 1 starting. So I do believe that Ferrari and Red Bull will be very close this weekend. I'm probably going to inch in Red Bull's favour for this weekend. Ferrari can definitely still get pole position, though, tomorrow and be quickest, say, in the practice sessions. But I do think Red Bull will have the slightly better car this weekend and certainly in the Grand Prix as well. So I think Red Bull will probably be the quickest, just about, from Ferrari. And then third quickest, it really does depend when it comes to that on Mercedes and how high they possibly have to run their car off the ground if they are having, really bad bouncing on the straights. So we'll have to see what happens for them. But if they don't have to raise their car's ride height really at all compared to, what would, if they don't have to raise it to the point where it's clearly costing them a lot of pace, then I think Mercedes will most likely be the third fastest team. I mean, Baku, yes, they weren't that great, but they were still the third best team there, and I expect probably the same this weekend. But if they are not the third quickest team, then I think probably the best team after them would probably be Alpine. and AlphaTauri, because this track isn't that... I mean, it's different to Baku, but it's not massively different because, obviously, especially the final sector, but the final two sectors are power dominant. So, obviously, Alpine and AlphaTauri did very well when it came to that in in Baku. So, I think they'll be very quick here. Alpine also will be very quick, as we know, down the straights, especially if they set their cars up in a certain way. So, yeah. After Mercedes, if the Mercedes are the third best team, then it'll probably be Alpine and AlphaTauri just after them. And then just after those two teams, it'll probably be McLaren and Aston Martin. And probably Aston Martin just sneaking ahead because of McLaren's lack of straight line speed. So we'll see whether that does turn out to be the case with the pecking order. And yeah, the bottom three teams, I think, will probably be Haas, or Alfa Romeo, then Haas, then Williams, probably for the rest of the field. By the way, there's been news about Haas, that their upgrade package that they should have brought to the Spanish Grand Prix, but they didn't. They have delayed it because it was going to come at the French Grand Prix. They've delayed it another race until the Hungarian Grand Prix. But what they're going to do is bring this big upgrade, and then they're going to stop developing this car completely and work on 2023. So yeah, that's very disappointing news. And also, I think, given how Haas this season is, what it's developed into, I think they've been such a disappointment this season. They really have. Because the way they start the season, I thought Haas were going to be maybe 5th, 6th in the championship this year. And now they're 8th, and they're level on points with 9th. And the 9th place team, Aston Martin, are definitely going to be, from now until the end of the season, the better team and probably score more points. So, they've come into this year, obviously hoping for a big year. As, by the way, this is showing on screen the tyre compounds for this weekend. The 3 softest tyres we have for this weekend, the C5, C4 and C3. So, yeah, we'll see how tyre wear is this weekend around this track. Obviously, the tyres quite a bit different from the last time we raced here in 2019. But yeah, with Haas, I mean, obviously they came into this season hoping to get back to, say, a 5th place or 6th place in the championship, and all they've done is climb one spot, pretty much, or almost, because obviously they're still in 8th, but they are going to drop to 9th, I think, pretty certainly. So, yeah, disappointing for Haas, but there you go. As we've got 90 seconds, I think, or about 2 minutes to go until practice 1 begins in Canada. And they did say that it was looking like a wet practice today, but it's windy for sure, so the rain could come in soon. But at the moment, it's pretty nice weather in terms of the sun being out, but like I said, the wind is pretty constant, I guess you could call it. There was a massive storm as well yesterday in Montreal, a massive flood at the track. So yeah, there are storms about, and it's not going to be the warmest weekend probably for the teams and drivers. But I think now I will get rid of this and just quickly get my graphics ready. Obviously, this running order is just the template one. And obviously, practice 1, as all the practice sessions are, is 1 hour long. So, just get the timer ready. And yeah, the sun definitely becoming more prominent at the moment in Montreal. As local time, I think it's 2 o'clock local time in the afternoon. A good time for practice. And I did notice, and I was going to talk about it a bit sooner, but I was busy talking about something else. But Sky F1, because obviously I watch their coverage for the actual coverage itself. By the way, there are dark clouds around, so we'll see what happens with the rain there. I was just watching their build up as the session was, as they were building up to the session. As by the way, the session starts in about 30 seconds time, so we're nearly there. And they were just doing a piece on one of their pundits, or analysts, whatever you want to call her, Naomi Watts, who, there was a bit of a controversy on Twitter because some troll who was just obviously a massive racist. I mean, not from what he said about Naomi Watts, but not Naomi Watts, Naomi Schiff. Why am I saying Watts? I'm an absolute clown. I think the session has started. I'm pretty sure. So I've got the timer on screen. I'll see in a moment if it's correct. But yeah, sorry, not Naomi Watts, Naomi Schiff. As I am about 2 seconds behind, so I'll just hide the timer. But yeah, they were just doing a bit about Naomi Schiff, one of their analysts, as you guys, if you do watch Sky Sports F1, you'll know who she is. She's a new addition to the team, and she is actually a racing driver and has raced in plenty of other series. And to be honest, when she first was brought on, I thought, oh, I'm not sure about this, because I didn't really know who she was, and I didn't know if she had quite the expertise for F1 analysis, but she's proven to be fine. I mean, I haven't watched enough of the coverage on Sky F1 to know if she's good, like a properly good pundit or analyst, whatever you want to call her. But, she's definitely not the worst out of the Sky F1 pundits. I mean, Paul di Resta is absolutely the worst out of them all. Johnny Herbert as well. I just don't like Johnny Herbert anymore. He's there really, Herbert, to be the comic relief, rather than really give some good takes on F1. So she's not the worst, but I'd say she's probably, when it comes to all of the pundits or analysts, whatever you want to call them, she's probably in the middle of all of them in terms of how good she is. She's definitely not the worst. And basically what happened was, on Twitter, in between the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, as we're looking at a Ferrari starting the lap, in between the Azerbaijan Grand Prix and this Grand Prix, there was some dickhead on Twitter who was just an obvious racist, and not because of what he said about her, necessarily. I mean, he definitely made insinuations, but if you go look through his other tweets at the time, yeah, he's definitely your typical far right-wing person that you would get in this country, and essentially said that, basically did a sarcastic tweet about how, the only reason she's on the Sky F1 team is because of her skin colour, and obviously he made the point that they were just fulfilling diversity quotas. Now, it is true that all big companies now have diversity quotas, but when it comes to this instance, at the end of the day, from what I have seen, she's not a diversity hire. She is at least decent at what she does. I mean, if she's better than Johnny Herbert and Paul di Resta already after a few races, then I'm sure she'll be absolutely fine as a Sky F1 pundit. And if she was a diversity hire, then she wouldn't, she would, if she was a diversity hire and didn't really, and what I mean by that is if she was hired purely because of her background and she didn't actually have a great knowledge of F1 and she was terrible, then she would be by far the worst out of them all. But that's not been the case. She's been pretty good. So, yeah, lots of people on Twitter were defending her, including Lewis Hamilton, which was good to see. But I will say, with Sky F1 in their build-up there, they did like a video montage of her best bits and all. I mean, at the end of the day, that guy who made that tweet, he was a troll. He was just an obvious, baiting troll who was just looking for some reaction to what he was saying. And if you look through his other tweets as well, I know he protected his tweets eventually, but I managed to look through his tweets before he did that, and his a lot of his tweets were just, just like inflammatory comments that we're looking for a reaction. So I think when it comes to trolls, the best thing to do is to just not give them the airtime, because at the end of the day, what's happened now is everyone has reacted in a massive way. Obviously, I have no problem people supporting Naomi, but you know, Sky F1 being this, getting this all up in arms over a troll is giving the troll exactly what they want, which is attention. So in the future, if people do criticize her, I hope they don't keep doing that stuff. I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with supporting her. I fully support them supporting her, but like I said, you're giving the trolls exactly what they want by doing that, because, you know, someone else out there will now be like, well, if I make a bad tweet about her, then maybe I'll get a reaction out of enough people to be basically talked about on Sky Sports F1. So yeah, the wrong approach there, I think, from Sky. Like I said, they should give us support, but the trolls, you know, they just want clicks at the end of the day. Anyway, let's get into the session. But I did want to quickly talk about that in case people moan about, oh, why are you talking about this? Because it was something that was quite big on social media in the past few days, so I did want to talk about it quickly. As we are now getting our first few times on the board, Valtteri Bottas is now quickest on a 1:17.9. Max Verstappen is second, just behind. You've got Carlos Sainz third, Lewis Hamilton fourth, and then Ricciardo, Gasly are your top six. And what we're seeing here, I think we're just seeing a replay on the broadcast of Carlos Sainz bouncing up and down quite a bit down the main DRS straight coming into the final chicane. So not great there. And I don't think he had the DRS open, so obviously with DRS open, it'll be even worse. As Max Verstappen goes to the top of the timesheets, as I think Russell on Team Radio there was just complaining about the wind. Yes, Verstappen, Bottas, Sainz, and then Lando Norris has now gone up to fourth place, and then it's Hamilton up to fifth, or down to fifth, I guess you could say, and then Russell is sixth for Mercedes, as Sergio Perez comes to the line and goes second for Red Bull. To be honest, I've forgotten what the best times here were in 2019. I think Sebastian Vettel's pole lap was a 1 minute. Was it 1 minute 10.2? I think it was in qualifying 3 years ago. So these aren't that quick of lap times from the drivers, but the conditions aren't great, I have to say. As Ricciardo goes fourth for McLaren. As Albon in the Williams goes all the way up to seventh place for Williams. And then, Hamilton 8th, Russell 9th, Gasly 10th. As Sebastian Vettel puts in his first proper time of the weekend and goes third with that lap. So, Vettel up to third. So that pushes Gasly down P11, and then you've got Magnussen in 12th, and then Leclerc 13th. There's Fernando Alonso, who hasn't done a time yet, is about to complete his first lap. DRS not open though, and then he goes 17th. So it's Leclerc 13th, Zhou 14th, and then Leclerc now goes up to third. Leclerc at the moment on the soft compound tyre, as the two Red Bulls are on the medium. As Carlos Sainz now goes from 7th up to 4th place. As we're looking at Max Verstappen getting a bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 9. As he's massively up on his previous best lap. And he's about to go probably 6 or 7 tenths of a second quicker than his previous best lap. So, is currently Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, and then Vettel 5th. Pierre Gasly is up to 6th place, and then it's Bottas, Ricciardo, Norris, and then Magnussen, as here comes Max Verstappen, and Verstappen goes, 7/10 of a second quicker than his personal best, and goes now to a new personal best, obviously, of a 1 minute 15.7. Around this track, though, like I said, it was a 1 minute 10.2, I think, for pole in 2019. So these cars, you would think, would be at worst a second off that with the fastest cars. So yeah, they're definitely nowhere near at the moment the absolute pace. I mean, still on a 1 minute, was it 15 there for Max? So definitely they are nowhere near as quick as they can go. As Sergio Perez improves his lap and goes about 3.5 tenths off Verstappen, but stays in second position. As Valtteri Bottas, I see, is on the medium tyre, and he's gone up to 4th place. And then it's Sainz 5th, and then Vettel, Gasly, Ricciardo, Norris, and Alonso has gone 10th for Alpine, as Daniel Ricciardo improves yet again to 6th. Obviously, this track, Daniel Ricciardo won at in 2014. If you look, though, at his record here in Canada, in the races, it's pretty good. But compared to his teammates, ever since he's raced here in F1, he's never really done well compared to his teammates. He was out-qualified here in 2013 and 2014, and also in 2016, 17, and 18 was Ricciardo. But obviously last time here in 2019 for Renault, Ricciardo qualified 4th. So, yeah, he's not had a great record here in qualifying or over a single lap compared to his teammate, whoever that teammate may be. But like I said, in the races has normally come alive and got some good results. As Fernando Alonso on the soft compound tyre improves to 4th position. As Charles Leclerc improves his lap, as Carlos Sainz goes back up to 4th. And I'm going to quickly do the bottom half of the order if I can. So Magnussen is 11th. Home driver Lance Stroll, who has his own grandstand this weekend, is in, well, he was 12th. He's now up to P7 for Aston Martin on the medium compound tyre. And then it's, so it's Norris 11th, and Magnussen, Albon, Hamilton, and then Zhou in 15th, and then Russell, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Ocon, or Schumacher, Latifi, and then Ocon is 20th. Ocon hasn't done a lap yet, but he's about to in the Alpine, as Lando Norris gets back into the top 10 in 7th position. As Max Verstappen, I think, is about to improve his lap yet again, and he does just about by 1/10 of a second. And Max is 4.5 tenths quicker than second place man Perez. As Perez is actually quicker than Max so far on this lap by about, well, a few thousandths of a second by the looks of it. So we'll see in this final sector whether Perez can make the difference and get it into first place. Not a great run through the chicane, I have to say. But he comes to the line, and Sergio Perez does go quickest by 0.04 of a second. So Sergio Perez first, Verstappen second. So we're now looking at an Alpine, I assume, of Esteban Ocon, who's on a time lap, or is that Fernando Alonso? I think it might be Fernando. And no, it's Ocon, I'm pretty sure. As Ricciardo, I notice, is up to 6th place, and something happening there for Ocon. He went deep at turn 8 and down the escape road. It looks as though his front right brake might be on fire, by the looks of it, because he's got smoke, I think, pouring out of it. Yeah, I think his brake might be on fire here. Not a great start then. the Alpine team, who should be pretty quick this weekend. And yeah, definitely got a problem with that brake or wheel or something in that area. As Vettel, I could announce, is up to 4th place. As Gasly and a Red Bull passes him, and yet Ocon will just slowly come back in. Hopefully these two cars can get out of his way quick enough so he can get into the pits, and they do. Alex Albon, I notice, is up to 11th. Then it's Gasly, Magnussen, and then Zhou 14th, Hamilton 15th, Tsunoda in 16th, and then Russell, Latifi, Schumacher, and Ocon still hasn't set a time because now he has some sort of car problem. So he'll probably be in the pits for another 10 minutes, I would imagine, with that issue. By the way, hello to everyone in chat. Just want to try if I can and read out a couple of comments, as there's a bit of a lull in the action as the front 4 are currently in the pits. Let's see if I can read any comments. Bravum Oz, obviously from Australia. Scott McDonald says 9 hours in front of UK. You're dedicated, bro. That, yeah, absolutely true. You guys from Australia and that part of the world, yeah, very dedicated. And yeah, is a replay, and yeah, some sort of issue there with the wheel hub or the brake with Ocon, because it was smoking quite badly when he braked rather, for turn 8. Scott McDonald also says, I wonder if Red Bull will let Checo win. He has a good chance for title. What do you guys and girls think? I think they'll give him a fair enough chance, but at the end of the day, if Max is behind Perez and Max is clearly faster, then I think they will still, ask Perez to move out the way. Remember, Perez, at the end of the day, his new contract that he signed for 2023 and 2024, maybe it's not the case, but the contract he signed for this year would have been a contract as a number 2 driver. So that is, at the end of the day, what he is expected to do for the team. But also, what do you call it? I think, yeah, if Verstappen, what was I going to say? If Verstappen is clearly faster and behind Perez on track, then I think we will still get situations like we got in Barcelona where Verstappen will be let through. But also, despite that, if Perez is behind Verstappen and Perez is clearly faster and looking for an overtake, I don't think Red Bull are going to say to Perez, unless of the situation, depends on the situation obviously, I don't think they're going to tell Perez to, sit behind and, not allow him to overtake Max. I think they'll allow him to. Because, especially if we get a few races more into the season, if Perez is still within a race win of Max in points, then Perez has absolutely got a chance, a very good chance of, winning the championship. But to be honest, I still think Max is the clear favourite because he is still the number 1 on the team and obviously better than Perez, despite Perez having a very good season. Lewis Hamilton is starting a new lap. I've noticed a lot of the drivers are not opening DRS, so that's a big reason why the lap times are not that quick. But yeah, it's currently Perez from Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc, and then Alonso is 5th with Vettel 6th, and then Pierre Gasly is in 7th place. Albon 8th, Ricciardo 9th, Bottas 10th, then Norris, Stroll, Zhou 13th, and then Magnussen, Tsunoda. Russell is now up to 13th. So let me just quickly update that. So Russell now up to 13th, and then Zhou 14th, and then Magnussen, Tsunoda, Latifi, Hamilton, Schumacher, Ocon. Alonso improves up to 3rd. He is on the soft compound tyre, though, as Lewis Hamilton is on an improved lap. We'll see how he improves. Thank you, by the way, for that comment, Scott, in chat. He also says, in regards to what I was talking about with Naomi Schiff, that race or religion shouldn't make a blind bit of difference. Talent wins all day long. Absolutely. I mean, let me just see this lap through. So Lewis Hamilton goes up to 11th. I have no problem with people from different backgrounds and races, ethnicities, and, you know, being hired for jobs, and, you know, there being a wider range of diversity in workplaces. The problem is, you know, hiring people for reasons of diversity when they don't have the qualifications for the job itself. As long as they have the qualifications, I couldn't give a fuck, to be honest, who works where, as long as they are actually qualified for what they're doing. Same with F1. As long as everyone on the grid is qualified for what they're doing, I couldn't give a damn where they're from, what they look like, what thoughts they have, or what positions they have on certain things. I don't care. As long as you're good enough to be an F1, that's all that matters, and that's the same for everything else. As Carlos Sainz is now heading down the main DRS straight, coming into the final chicane, DRS wide open, and definitely porpoising quite a bit towards the end of the straight, but not as much as I maybe expected as he comes back into the pits. We've got most cars now in the pits. The only cars not in the pits are Hamilton, Tsunoda, Stroll, Russell, and Alonso, I think, as well on track. I'll just quickly update a couple positions quick. Who was I going to update? Yuki Tsunoda, that was it, is up now to 12th place. By the way, we're 22 minutes into practice 1, and Sky F1 have now gone for their first ad break, so we'll see in a couple of minutes' time what the order is looking like. And yeah, like I said, they are at the moment nowhere near the quickest times they can do. I mean, really, for practice 1, given that we're on a 1 minute 15.6 for Perez as the quickest time so far, really, the best time we should be seeing at this point of the weekend should be probably a, say, 1 minute, say a late 1 minute 13 to a mid 1 minute 14, I think, is probably the best times we should be seeing for the absolute quickest drivers or quickest teams on the grid. So they are still, not running that quickly at the moment, just getting re-acclimatized to the track. Bravamos says, I don't know, I've seen Red Bull pull some crazy things on Webber and Ricciardo to some degree. I think Red Bull fully back Max and have throw the dog a bone on the odd occasion to keep him happy. Yeah, I mean, Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber, for example, they were equal, technically, but we all knew Sebastian Vettel was their number one, so maybe that's what they're doing with Verstappen and Perez. But like I said, at the end of the day, the contract that Perez would have signed for this season would have been a number 2 driver type contract. He knew exactly what he signed up for at the end of the day. And obviously Verstappen is the team leader and the main man at the Red Bull, leading the championship he is. So, yeah, I think Max, I mean, people may moan that, Max, doesn't have hard competitive teammates, but at the end of the day, At the end of the day, he deserves to be in that type of position. The absolute best drivers in Formula 1 and in Formula 1 history deserve to be at a top team and be the clear number 1 driver. I mean, some teams, can do it differently and have 2 number 1s at their team, but drivers like, Hamilton, Verstappen, I'd probably say Leclerc as well at Ferrari at the moment, definitely deserve to be clear number 1s at their team. And if you look back through history, obviously, also Alonso and Vettel, I think you'd say, when it comes to the current grid, I think also deserve that as well. But yeah, if you look back at history, obviously, Schumacher, Senna, Hakkinen, Mansell, Prost, drivers like that, the absolute best of the best do deserve to have that type of luxury because they are immense drivers and all they need essentially is a quick enough car and the full support of a good team. Let me have a look at Twitter quickly. That was something I was going to read out at the start of the stream that I forgot to. So there was a very big rumour put out yesterday that Charles Leclerc was going to be taking a 10-place grid penalty for this weekend's Grand Prix, obviously. They're running a bit low on parts that don't put them over the amount that you're allowed to use during a season. So, yeah, the rumour was that Leclerc was going to take a 10-place grid penalty for this weekend. But we haven't heard anything so far. And I was just going to quickly read this out from Formula Races on Twitter, who says, a bit of confusion with the situation. Sam Collins, who works for FOM, says Leclerc will take a penalty, but the change is not yet on the FIA document, so no penalty for now, it seems. And the FIA... right, so Tammy then has posted that the FIA have released a power unit elements list. Leclerc has a new ICE, MGUH, MGUK, and control electronics. No new turbo, so no penalty. Right, so he's got away with it. But he will have to take penalties soon because he's already on the limit and we're not even halfway through this Formula 1 season. As we're almost halfway through this session, as Sergio Perez comes to the line and almost improves on his best time so far, but goes about a tenth of a second slower. It's Verstappen second, Alonso third, Carlos Sainz fourth. Lance Stroll is up to fifth place as Hamilton says he's got no rear end, which is a common complaint we've heard this season and from last weekend in Baku. So Stroll is up to fifth, and then it's Leclerc, Vettel, and then Lewis Hamilton in 8th place. As we're seeing a replay of Fernando Alonso. And Alonso, a bit of oversteer on the exit of the final chicane, but luckily wasn't that close to the wall. So, track's still not in a great condition. Obviously, there's not been really any, any racing here in Montreal since F1 was last here. So, yeah. But Sebastian Vettel has now put on the soft compound tyre, and Sebastian is up to 3rd place. So, good lap by the 4-time world champion. Hamilton, I just want to get back to the order. So, Hamilton is 8th, Bottas is now 9th, and Tsunoda is up to 10th with Russell in 11th, Gasly 12th, and then Albon, Ricciardo, Norris, Zhou, Magnussen, Latifi, Schumacher, Ocon is the rest of the order. As we're now looking at Nicholas Latifi on the soft compound tyre. Obviously, this is his home Grand Prix, and this will probably be the last ever home Grand Prix for him. Obviously, it's his first time racing in Canada for F1. And yeah, this will also, like I said, be the last time because pretty certain that he's being dropped for 2023. To be honest, it should happen probably after this race, but they're going to keep him in the car by the looks of it, As Lance Stroll has now gone up to 3rd. So 3rd and 4th at the moment for Aston Martin. And then you've got Alonso 5th, and then Sainz, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Tsunoda. As Latifi now powering down the back straight into the final chicane. And decent run through. Opens the DRS, takes the shortest run to the line by sticking to the right. And goes up to 14th place. So Latifi gets his first soft tyre run on the board. When it comes to the soft compound tyre this weekend, obviously, like I said earlier, the compounds this weekend are the softest possible ones that we saw in Baku last weekend, and I think we saw him in Monaco as well. Because of the lack of grip around this track and the lack of rubber that will have gone down over the weekend. I mean, even though, let's say it's a fully dry weekend, even though rubber will go down, sorry, as the weekend goes on, there is no F2 and F3, or I believe W Series this weekend racing that can help put a bit more rubber down. So the track is not going to be, for the race on Sunday, in that great of condition. And the greener the track in terms of the amount of rubber put down, the tyres do tend to wear out quite a bit more than what would be normal for a properly rubbered in racetrack. So, yeah, I think definitely if we get temperatures like we're seeing at the moment, I mean, with the wind being there, the temperatures aren't as hot as maybe they could be. But if it's a sunny, hot race, which I think they are expecting for the race on Sunday, then I think definitely we're going to get probably a 2-stop race for quite a lot of drivers out there, as Charles Leclerc goes P4 for Ferrari on the soft compound tyre. Bit surprising he can't go quickest at the moment, unless Ferrari are running a bit more fuel. But, yeah, with the race on Sunday, like I said, if it's a hot and sunny race, because of the not great grip around this circuit, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if we saw, say, a 2-stop race for people, certainly starting on the soft tyre. And even if you start on the medium, I reckon after, say, 20 laps, you're going to be probably looking to pit. And obviously, remember, here in Montreal, it's the shortest pit lane in terms of the amount of time you lose making a pit stop. It's the shortest pit lane of the year for pit lane loss. So, as Sebastian Vettel does a purple final sector, I don't think they had a great run out the final chicane. And Vettel comes to the line and goes 5th. And yeah, not a great final sector, so he could have done better there. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is, because of the short pit lane loss, that does promote the idea of an extra pit stop than normal. So I think there's a good chance if it's a dry weekend that we get a 2-stop race on Sunday, at least for the higher place drivers. As Leclerc has now gone 2nd for Ferrari. It's now Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen, Stroll, Vettel, and then Ricciardo has jumped up to 6th place. We know McLaren can be sometimes a bit conservative on a Friday, as Carlos Sainz has done a purple first and middle sector. So Carlos about to, hopefully, go quickest. Comes to the final chicane, opens the DRS, shortest run to the line, and let's see where he goes. He does go quickest by 0.2 of a second. So we are now down to, a 1 minute 15.4. Still, the lap times are not that great, I have to say, at this point of the weekend. I know it's only practice 1, but I expected them to be at least at the front there with Sainz and Perez to be at least a second quicker than what they're doing right now in terms of lap times. So it's Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen, and then Stroll, Vettel, Ricciardo, Albon, Alonso, Bottas, your top 10. The rest of the order is Hamilton, Tsunoda, Russell, Gasly, and then Latifi. Ocon has done a lap finally and gone 16th, and then it's Norris, Magnussen, Zhou, and then Mick Schumacher at the back. By the way, with Mick Schumacher, like I said in my preview yesterday, he's never raced around here before, so I'm not expecting him to be that great, to be honest. But we're just over halfway through the session. Looks as though we've got a bit of a lull, in the action. So, just want to quickly let you guys know that I will be live at 9:45 p.m. UK time, which is in 2 hours and 10 minutes from now, for the Practice 2 watch-along for the Canadian Grand Prix. So don't forget to come along to that. And remember, tomorrow I will be live 3 times. Firstly, at 3 p.m. UK time for the qualifying preview. Live again at 5:45 p.m. UK time for the Practice 3 watch-along. And then live at 8:30 p.m. UK time for the qualifying watch-along for the Canadian Grand Prix. So don't forget to join me for all of that content today and tomorrow. And obviously, we're doing plenty on Sunday and Monday as well. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And also, don't forget to smash the like button, share this video on your channel everywhere you can. And don't forget as well to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. And also, make sure to join our Discord server to keep up to date with what is going on. As Lando Norris has now gone up to 8th place, so both McLarens into the top 10. Esteban Ocon now improves up to 14th. Does he? No, 15th it is actually. So Ocon in 15th place as Yuki Tsunoda improves by 1 position up to 12th. So Tsunoda slightly improving there. As Sky F1 for the millionth time this season, it feels like, have Christian Horner talking with them on the pit wall. Obviously, they don't have a great array of people to go to on the pit wall for every weekend, so that's why most of the time it is Mr. Horner. As here's a replay of Stroll going through turn 3 and 4, and then into turn 5 and 6. And the car seems very unstable at the rear end, or he's definitely shaking the wheel quite a bit, is Stroll, through the first sector. So it doesn't feel very confident, I'm guessing, with the car. But despite that, he's in 5th place. So looking good is the Stroller, as Max Verstappen is on a set of soft compound tyres and is on a personal best lap, but he's not done a purple sector so far. But now into the final sector he comes. This is where the Red Bull will be at its best this weekend. And Verstappen gets pretty close to the wall, but could get closer. As he comes to the line, Verstappen, and goes quickest by 0.3 of a second. So Max Verstappen, quickest now on a 1:15.1. And did a, purple sector 3, as expected. The Red Bull quicker than the Ferrari in the final sector. That's going to be interesting as well this weekend with Ferrari, because obviously to combat their lack of straight line speed compared to Red Bull, they ran a skinny rear wing, and that helped a lot in the final sector in Baku. Here in Canada, though, will they feel the need to do that again? It's going to be interesting to see whether they do, because they seem to have a pretty good car for Sector 1 and are pretty equal with Red Bull in Sector 2. But Sector 3 looks as though it's belonging to Red Bull. As Daniel Ricciardo we're looking at, I think, on a new timed lap in 7th place, as Russell goes up to 12th, I think. Gasly, though, I just noticed, is up to 8th for Alpha Tauri. And then, Russell is up to P12, so goes ahead of Hamilton, Tsunoda, and Bottas. As Zhou goes quicker than, I was going to say Zhou is now quicker than the 2 Haas's. Now Mick Schumacher goes up to 17th. But still pretty bad pace from the Haas team already, which is not really a surprise. As Lewis Hamilton, I think, is about to start a new lap on the soft compound tyre. Hasn't done a soft tyre run yet. Let's see what he can do. Oh, locked up going into turn 1, so he's already lost about 1/10 of a second there. And not a great exit of turn 2, so this is already a pretty bad lap for him. Into turn 3 and 4. Bouncing the car is on the exit of turn 4. Definitely won't be comfortable. And he's already 2/10 down on Verstappen after the first sector. That's not a bad first sector, though, considering he's already made 2 mistakes. So, not bad for Mercedes there. As Lewis now into turn 8 and 9. Chicane, pretty much. That gets faster as you go through it. And now, for the middle sector, Lewis is only just under a 2/10 of a second down on Verstappen. This is a very good lap so far for Lewis Hamilton. And like I said, he's probably lost about 1.5 tenths, 2 tenths with a couple errors in the first sector. So let's see what he does now in the final sector as Lewis Hamilton powers into the final chicane. And the first part of the chicane, I think he ran quite a bit wide there. He comes to the line though, and yeah, a very poor final sector, but still only 7 tenths of a second down. And he made 3 mistakes on that lap, and altogether, those 3 mistakes probably cost him about half a second at least. That's a pretty good lap there for Lewis. So there is good pace there initially in practice. Obviously, we don't know what the real pace is of the Red Bull and Ferrari cars compared to the rest of the field, but that's a pretty good pace so far for practice 1. I mean, nobody really is pushing as hard as they can go later in the weekend, so they're all running around each other in terms of fuel and engine settings. As Yuki Tsunoda there touching the wall on the exit of turn 8, I think. Or no, turn 9. So might have to look at his car there. Sebastian Vettel, I think, locks up going into turn 1. Yep, inside front, and has to go and cut turn 2 and exit that escape road. And now we are looking at a Ferrari of, I think, Charles Leclerc. Yeah, it is. Who's about to start a new lap. But it's currently Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, and then Russell has now gone up to 5th. I don't know what his lap was like, though. Maybe there was a couple mistakes in there. Who knows? But Russell 5th, Stroll 6th, Hamilton 7th. Hamilton, though, can go at least, I reckon, half a second quicker with a mistake-free lap. As Alonso goes 8th on the medium compound tyre. That's a very good lap there for the Spaniard. So Alonso 8th, then Vettel, Ricciardo, Gasly, Norris, Albon, Bottas, Tsunoda, Ocon, and then Zhou, Schumacher, Latifi, Magnussen. That's the rest of the order as it stands. As we're just looking at Leclerc on his lap. Don't know what his sector times are looking like at the moment. But Carlos Sainz at the moment has the fastest Sector 1 and Sector 2. And then Sector 3 belonging to Red Bull as Sky F1 now go to an ad break. And yeah, I'll quickly have a look on Twitter to see if there's any other news out there regarding Formula 1 on Twitter. Obviously, my Twitter feed is not just full of Formula 1. So I need to try and make sure I find best information I can. Lewis Hamilton apparently earlier said he experienced vertical hits of up to 10G on the straight in Baku. No wonder he was limping getting out of the car. Let's see if there's any other bits of news I can get to. Verstappen isn't a fan of the FIA intervention, saying rule changes in the middle of the year I don't think is correct. Hamilton disagrees and is happy that safety is being put first. I'd have to side with Lewis Hamilton on that for sure because yeah, safety obviously is the most important thing, but secondly, it doesn't benefit the teams that suffer with it the most. So I think Max, I understand what Max is saying, and I do agree with him to a certain extent, but I think in this instance, it doesn't actually ruin anything. I mean, it will change the order around, but that's down, at the end of the day, to the teams, and, you know, it's their fault if they're still suffering with porpoising problems. James Zhao in chat says the thing about Red Bull is they can't lose super talent Verstappen, but they can find other great drivers like Perez. Exactly. Verstappen, I mean, he's contracted at Red Bull Verstappen until 2028, when he'll be, 30 years old in 2028 or 31? So if he does stay at Red Bull until then, which I think he will, unless Red Bull fall off a cliff, I'm sure there's a clause in his contract that says if Red Bull become like a midfield team or turn into like what Mercedes have become this season, I'm certain there is a clause in his contract for him to be able to leave. But if Red Bull are a race-winning, championship-challenging team between now and 2028, then Verstappen is going to 100% stay at the team. But then, when it comes to 2028, I mean, maybe he'll renew his contract before 2028 at Red Bull to keep him there, possibly to the very end of his career. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of Verstappen and Red Bull, or, Max being at Red Bull, it's going to get to the point, and it already feels this way, it's going to be hard to imagine Max driving for another team. I know people may say, but, Mercedes may in the future have Max in their car. I think after last year, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they are going to be as receptive to someone to someone like Max Verstappen than they would have been, say, before 2021. I don't think he'll go to Ferrari because, well, why would he? Ferrari are still a banter team. They have a very good car, but, they still are a circus act, really. So there's no reason why he would go there. And, well, we'll see what Audi or VW do with Audi and Porsche, and whether they'll set one of those two up, because we know they're going to enter Formula 1 in 2026. We'll see whether one of those is set up as a works team. Maybe he'll go to them if, he wants to do something different. But I would not be surprised if he raced for Red Bull his entire career now. I really wouldn't be surprised with Max. He has actually talked about, I think in an interview, that he could retire early from F1 and decide to do something different. I don't believe he's going to do that at all, because I think he's a lot more interested and focused on racing than he is really anything else. And when you compare it to someone like Lewis Hamilton, obviously Lewis Hamilton is very focused and loves Formula 1 and motorsport in general, but Lewis also has plenty of other things that he's interested in and does. So when Lewis retires, Lewis will be fine. With Verstappen, though, Formula 1 is everything really he has in terms of a career. So I think Verstappen will most likely be in Formula 1 for at least another 10 years, probably 15 years. And if if Red Bull can provide him with a good enough car to possibly dominate Formula 1, then Max absolutely could end his career as one of the greatest of all time. As we are back, by the way, from the ad break, and we're looking at Lance Stroll, who I think is on a heavier fueled run in the Aston Martin. His car doesn't look that quick, and yeah, it looks like he's got some heavy fuel on board. But I'll quickly do the order and get it correct in just a moment, as I notice that Fernando Alonso has gone up to third now on the medium tyre, so a very good time there from Fernando. Obviously, we know Alpine are quicker on a Friday, but still, that is a pretty good time from Fernando, as we're just seeing a rear-end shot of the Aston Martin on the TV broadcast. Now they cut back, and we have only, 12 minutes to go. This session has absolutely flown by, I have to say. Felt like we were only a few minutes into the session about 10 minutes ago. Now we're almost 10 minutes to go. Yeah, it's currently Verstappen, Sainz, Alonso, Perez, Leclerc, and then Russell, Stroll, Hamilton, Vettel, Ricciardo, your top 10, and then Gasly, Norris, Albon, Tsunoda, 14th, and then Ocon, 15th, and then Bottas, Zhou, Schumacher, Latifi, Magnussen. That is your running order with, 11 and a half minutes to go. Faith Thomas, my uncle, who is Canadian but currently lives in California, will probably be calling me on Sunday to ask if I have watched the race. I already have it DVR'd for viewing. Well, yeah, it's, I think for, Canadians, it's fantastic they've got Formula One back, because at the end of the day, this Grand Prix has been such a fundamental part of Formula One for so long, so it's great to have it back. And I think, obviously we've had historically plenty of races in the United States of America, but I think Canada and this track has a much better, more special place in the hearts of people who love Formula One. So yeah, great to be back in Canada and at this track, which is still fundamentally as great as it was when we were last here in 2019. And also, we've not had any track changes to this circuit since not even 2000, I don't think. I think the last time we had a corner redesigned, I think, was 1996, I think it was, when they got rid of the because the final sector used to be just really fast left and right handers rather than, a long straight and then a final chicane. I think that was 1996 that they brought in the final chicane. Or maybe it was 93, 94, I can't remember exactly. But yeah, the track has been identical ever since then, and thank God it has, because it is a fantastic track on the St. Lawrence Seaway, as Valtteri Bottas is currently on a time lap, but I don't think is doing a properly quick flying lap or single lap here. I think he's on a bit of a race run with heavier fuel on board, so I don't think Bottas is really going to be going that quick, as an AlphaTauri that went deep at the final chicane lets him through. No, Bottas was on a lap there, just didn't go that quick. Stays in 16th place, and at the moment you'd have to say that Alfa Romeo already not that quick. As what we're looking at, some sort of animal that we do get here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, running across the track in between turn 2 and turn 3, and we have seen drivers hit these animals. And Leclerc, or one of the Ferraris, almost smashed one to death. I think, was it Anthony Davidson in 2007 for Super Aguri? He was running 4th in this race, and then he broke his front wing on a beaver or something, and had to pit. And when he came into the pits, the team weren't ready for him, because I don't think they even knew what had happened. And yeah, it was cost possibly a podium that day because of it. So it is definitely something to watch out for the drivers. Always has been and always will be. As we're now looking at Lewis Hamilton. And yeah, the Mercedes is porpoising quite a bit down the back straight. Not as dramatically maybe as it was in Baku, but definitely quite a bit. And with DRS open and them going at their absolute top speed, I think they might incur the wrath of the FIA with that one, because that looks still a bit bad. As Lewis is now on the medium compound time. Not sure this is going to be, though, a new timed run for him. I think this might actually be a race run, just a few laps on heavier fuel to see how the car feels. And yeah, that's what it is, because he's 1.2 seconds off Verstappen in the first sector. And, well, with 7 minutes to go, it does seem as though Max Verstappen is going to end practice 1 quickest, unless the Ferraris can try and improve. By the way, evening to McLaren F1 race and everyone watching. Hopefully you're all doing well. And just trying to see if there's any more news on Twitter. Can't at the moment, as we've got a bit of a lull here in practice 1. Hopefully we get some improvements on the times before we end this session, but it doesn't look like it at the moment, as those dark clouds have cleared as Hamilton looks up again into turn 1. Yeah, those dark clouds have cleared, and now it's a pretty nice day in Montreal. But the rain isn't going to be too far away, as Verstappen says, mate, I'm clipping like crazy. Assuming that's to do with the engine with Verstappen there. As he's currently, Max, on the medium tyre. I think also on a race run in the slipstream, or almost in the slipstream of a car ahead of Russell in the Mercedes. And, well, we'll see how he follows here, the Mercedes, and see whether the dirty air is that bad. Doesn't seem to be that bad. Seems to be quite bumpy, though, and low grip, the track at the moment, which is, like I said, not a big surprise. And yeah, he's just going to try here and follow Russell through the lap and probably get a good feel of how it feels to be sat behind another car. And certainly looks easier than it was last time we came here, but still pretty hard. I think people need to remember, despite having great races here in the past, what do you call it? It is still a street track, and it is still very tight, really, until the final sector. So it is still pretty hard to follow cars in front of you. I mean, a big reason why races here have been so exciting is because of safety cars, not necessarily overtakes. So, yeah. But this race also can be a bit of a car breaker when it comes to brakes. So that can also throw up a bit of a unusual order at times, as we have seen here in the past. As it can be at times, this Canadian Grand Prix track, it can be a bit of a race of attrition around here. But not as much as it used to be. I mean, if you go watch a Canadian Grand Prix from the late 90s or early 2000s, a lot of cars were retiring with brake problems around this track, so, and obviously engine problems as well. So yeah, it didn't used to be a great race in terms of having a good amount of people finish. As Alonso here is on the medium compound tyre, but it looks as though he's pushing, but I'm not sure he's actually on an improved lap. No, he's not, because he's second and a half down on Verstappen after the middle sector. So this is also a race run. So everyone pretty much now doing race runs out there rather than a single flying lap. As Alonso porpoises a bit down the straight, but not excessively to the point where it's, bad. And Alonso completes a lap, and he's doing about a 1 minute 18 type lap time, 1:18.1 for that lap. But yeah, obviously a lot slower than he went previously. But currently, Fernando sat in third place. Everyone has done their best time on the soft tyre. Alonso's best time is on the medium. So maybe Alpine have a really quick car this weekend. As we're now looking at Charles Leclerc, who is on the medium compound tyres. Well, I mean, for the race on Sunday, if it's a dry weekend, they should be starting the race on the medium, to be honest, because I think the soft compound tyre will be a bit too, as he says, the rears are destroyed, even on the medium, after a few laps, so not great. The tyre wear, which is not a surprise. Like I said, I think it'll be probably a 2-stop race on Sunday with how soft these tyres are. But, what do you call it? Yeah, for the race on Sunday, I think you'll probably see the top 10 starting on the medium. We will get definitely people starting on the hard tyre. Maybe everyone outside the top 10 will decide to go for the hard tyre. Obviously, we don't have that rule that you have to start on the tyre you qualified on in Q2, which I think has helped keep the field a bit closer than it used to be, from the top teams to the midfield to the back. But yeah, I honestly, I don't think we'll see a soft tyre in sight on Sunday. Maybe on a safety car restart, if anyone wants to have a go, but I would be very surprised if we saw anyone on Sunday start the race on the soft compound tyre, because I think that tyre is going to probably be pretty dead after about 15 laps. I mean, after 10 laps, it won't feel that good at all. Talking of not feeling that good on the soft tyre, Valtteri Bottas, slight lock up into turn 10, the hairpin, and those tyres don't look great. His rear tyres especially wearing quite a bit. And yeah, when it comes to tyre wear here, the front tyres don't actually get worn out that much, and the reason is because there's not that many fast corners here. It's the rear tyres that get the pounding here, because there's a lot of slow corners, and traction is very important here in Canada. So, yeah, I think those rear tyres, I think you're going to see plenty of damaged rear tyres in the race on Sunday. And whoever can look after them the best will obviously get on the best with tyre wear on Sunday. As the session is now over, and we'll just wait for everyone to cross the line and finish their session, and then I'll read out the final finishing order here in practice 1. As Sergio Perez there, I think, just completed his session. Yeah, most people now completing their session. So I'll quickly read out the final finishing order here in practice 1. This is how it has ended. Max Verstappen ends the session quickest. Carlos Sainz in second, and then Alonso third. Perez fourth. Leclerc fifth. Russell sixth. Stroll seventh. Hamilton eighth. Vettel ninth and Ricciardo 10th. That's your top 10. And then the rest of the order: Gasly 11th, Norris 12th, Albon 13th, Tsunoda 14th, Ocon 15th, and then Bottas, Zhou, Schumacher, Latifi, Magnussen. That is your final finishing order for practice 1. Guys, don't forget to join me in an hour and 45 minutes from now at 9:45 p.m. UK time for the practice 2 watch along for the Canadian Grand Prix. So yeah, don't forget to join me for that. And as well, remember, I'll be live plenty of times later this weekend as well. But don't forget to join me for that practice 2 watch along. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And as well, smash the like button, share this video and channel everywhere you can. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5 and join our Discord server. Link below in the description. But guys, until my practice 2 stream, it has been me, ChazHD. Goodbye.